So a couple days ago, we got the announcement for UFC 308, and let me just say this is an absolutely stacked card. In my opinion, this should have been the card to premiere at the Sphere. I think that the UFC definitely messed up, man. I think that this should have been the Sphere card 100%, because for what we're getting in UFC 308 is absolutely amazing. There is some huge names and some very, very interesting matchups here, ladies and gentlemen, that we're going to be going over very, very quickly. First and foremost, we got Ankalaev taking on Alexander Rakic. This is a very, very interesting fight. Let me just say that Ankalaev not facing Alex Pereira in his next bout is pretty interesting. I wonder what the UFC is doing with Alex Pereira. Maybe Alex Pereira decided to take the back seat for the rest of the year, because he did step in short notice to save that last UFC event wherever Conor McGregor was supposed to make his return to the UFC. But of course, Alex Pereira came in last minute against Jiri Prochazka, and they were able to save that card. So maybe, Alex Pereira taking a backseat for the rest of the year is the decision that he went with. And Ankalaev is forced to face against someone like Alexander Rakic, who had a very, very interesting fight against Jiri Prochazka back at UFC 300, where in my opinion, Alexander Rakic was winning a large portion of that fight until he got hit with a couple of clean punches from Jiri Prochazka and, managed, to lose that fight. I think that this is a great fight for both fighters, for Alexander Rakic specifically, because this is going to be his second fight after coming back to the UFC from a major injury. And for Ankalaev, this is a good opportunity for him to solidify his position in the light heavyweight division. But we move forward to Robert Whittaker versus Chimaev. This was a fight that was supposed to take place back in June, but of course we know that Chimaev was forced to pull out because he got very sick, and Robert Whittaker was forced to fight Ankalaev, which he ended up knocking him out. But I think this fight is going to be a very entertaining one. There's a lot of people saying that Chimaev is a championship level fighter and he's going to go ahead and finish Robert Whittaker. We will see about that. We will see if Chimaev is able to shut down some of those haters, but in my opinion, I honestly don't really see it. I really do see that Robert Whittaker is probably going to end up winning this matchup. We move on with Gane taking out Alexander Volkov, and I think that this is going to be a very entertaining fight. Alexander Volkov was able to knock out the scary Sergey Pavlovich, and Gane has been MIA for a minute. He lost to John Jones, and then a couple months later faced off against Spivak, and he was able to knock him out in the second round, and he's been pretty much MIA since that point forward. There was a lot of people pretty much addressing the fact that Gane has been gone for a while, and I think that he's going to be facing off against a fighter right now that has a lot of momentum going for him, because he was able to defeat a high level fighter in Sergey Pavlovich. So I think it's going to be a very entertaining fight. Whoever wins this fight is probably going to face off against a champion in a couple months time, maybe next year. But I think this is a very entertaining fight, and it's going to be a great fight for the heavyweight division. And for the main event, we got Topuria facing off against Max Holloway, and I think this is going to be a freaking banger of a main event. There's going to be a lot of narratives surrounding this fight. Max Holloway was able to beat a very dangerous fighter like Justin Gaethje for that BMF belt, and Topuria managed to beat someone like Alexander Volkanovski, and there's going to be a lot of narratives surrounding the fact that Topuria was so dominant against Alexander Volkanovski. MMA math says that he should win this fight, because Max Holloway had 3 fights against Volkanovski and couldn't manage to beat him at all. So that's obviously going to play a huge factor on mind games, and I think that that's going to be a huge narrative that's going to be surrounding this fight. As far as who I think wins this matchup, I honestly think that this is kind of a toss-up. This is kind of up in the air. I think that we'll see who is going to be more dominant over the other literally in round 1, and once it gets to round 2, round 3, we can start deciding who wins this fight. Topuria, of course, is a very dangerous guy, and Max Holloway is a guy who is very tough to take out. I really do think that this fight is probably not gonna make it to the 5th round, if I'm just being completely honest. This is gonna be a banger of a matchup. It's gonna be a very entertaining fight. But yeah, 10 out of 10 UFC 308. This fight should have been the fight to be in the Sphere. I think that the UFC dropped the ball on this one. But yeah, let me know what you guys think down in the comment section below. As always, it's a pleasure. Peace out and have a good one.